The Preciousness of Human Life. Welcome back, everyone, to Mind Podcast. Human life is extremely precious, endowed with great potential, yet it is impermanent and filled with dissatisfaction. Therefore, we must make the most of this life by practicing right now. Human life, which spans from when we are in our mother's womb until death, often offers many joys and achievements, serving as a great source of benefit. However, it is also subject to numerous forms of unavoidable suffering, both mental and physical. A life of hardship can seem to pass quickly, and even a life of happiness may end with a sense of incompleteness. Thus, life is fleeting and ultimately unsatisfying when it oscillates between good and bad experiences, namely between happiness and suffering, which we appear unable to control. Life begins at conception and ends with an illness and death process, or some accident leading to death. Body and consciousness coexist harmoniously as long as we still have breath and our body retains its warmth. When the breath stops and warmth fades away, consciousness and body separate, and the person dies. Why? The true nature of human beings. The body is not our true self. It is merely an inn where our consciousness or mind resides for a certain time. When consciousness departs from that inn, the body disintegrates back into the four elements: earth, water, wind, and fire. Consciousness continues to reincarnate with a different body and name, depending on past causes and conditions. Our future destiny, whether good or bad, depends on our mental tendencies, habitual thoughts and emotions, and the ways we express these habits in speech and action. The true nature of consciousness or mind is open, empty, and pure. Its qualities are harmony, joy, omniscience, and perfection. This quality is called enlightenment, or Buddha nature. In Sanskrit, Buddha means awakened one. Everyone possesses Buddha nature. The mind is true wisdom that does not think dualistically or in a self-limiting way, splitting the experiences of life into subject and object, me and others. The true nature of the mind is omniscient, seeing all at once and non-dual, a boundless oneness. Within our emptiness, there is not only mind or wisdom, but also infinite space and endless time. Why then do we not all realize our true mind? It is because the mind's true reality is obscured by familiar dualistic notions of a discriminating mind that constantly compares and contrasts, creating afflictive emotions and desires. However, despite these emotions' attachment, anger, ignorance, jealousy, and arrogance, the intrinsic wisdom within us remains pure, unsullied by defilements. To discover the nature of our mind, we must be sincere and diligent in meditation practice. We have to recognize and meditate on right view, right thought, proper feelings, correct belief, and a wholesome way of life. Even merely knowing that we possess a pure and awakened mind helps us build confidence, spur ourselves to practice diligently, and drive us toward a genuine goal. Some may think that the mind clings and is rigid, impossible to reform. We might feel that we have sunk too deeply into bad habits to develop positive ways of thinking, viewing, and feeling. Yet, in truth, at any moment, we have the chance to start living in a more wholesome way, or to transform an unwholesome lifestyle into a good one. The fact is, our mind is not fixed in one continuous stream. It is not a single object like a steel bar, but rather a sequence of continually changing moments, like a string of beads moved one bead after another. Every event is a series of changes of instantaneous arising and ceasing, one experience following another, and so on. People often believe their life is an unbroken, singular flow, but in reality, that is merely an illusion, like seeing a ring of light in the dark when a burning stick is spun rapidly. When we feel discouraged or stuck, it is often because we do not fully understand the impermanent nature of life. We cling to events as objects of the mind, viewing them as real entities. Yet they actually change even before we think about them. What we perceive are but shadows or reflections of what has already occurred. Each event, each moment is something new, like a newborn. We can be shaped or educated in each instant, as if each moment were a newborn child. Through meditation, we can transform every moment's occurrence and thereby discover our true identity. The purpose of meditation. Many people question the emphasis on meditation. They see it as self-indulgent, even selfish or demanding, wondering how simply sitting and enjoying mental tranquility is of any benefit to society. How can that possibly show concern for others? Such questions misunderstand meditation, largely because most of us do not clearly see its benefits. Everything we think or feel creates a corresponding positive or negative imprint in our consciousness or mind. Selfless, harmonious, or joyful thoughts will plant seeds that produce the most beautiful forms, the most pleasant sounds, and the best feelings. Conversely, negative thoughts will give rise to horrible shapes and dreadful sounds. Only when we leave behind our coarse physical body and pass through the bardo, the intermediate state, however, do we actually see or hear these phenomena. Meditation is the best way to create beneficial forms, sounds, and feelings that can help ourselves as well as all beings who are ready to receive them. Those in the bardo state are extremely sensitive to our meditation and prayers because they exist in a spiritual world without a physical body to anchor them. If they think New York, they immediately find themselves there. If they then think London, they instantly appear in London within the constraints of their karma. Wandering like that, they often feel depressed, fearful, and lonely. The peace and compassion we develop through meditation can serve as a good resting place for beings in the bardo, helping them regain confidence, calm, and joy. Meditation helps these beings far more than our scattered thoughts and habitual emotions ever could, because it arises from the deeper, more serene level of our own mind. Like a magnet, the mind abiding in meditation attracts wandering consciousnesses and settles them. The longer we remain in meditation, the more we can soothe these beings, providing greater opportunities for a better future for them. Meditation also enables us to help the living in this physical world. If our mind is filled with negative emotions but we want to help others here, we may unwittingly transmit those negative emotions to them. Meditation purifies defilements, strengthens positive qualities, and awakens our true nature. Through meditation, we can experience reverence, peace, loving kindness, and power brought about by genuine thoughts and emotions. In meditation, we can experience the enlightened mind. Thus, meditation and meditative concentration are an experience, an attainment with purifying power that allows us to access and grow our treasury of compassion, peace, joy, and devotion, making our lives richer and increasing our capacity to serve others. Once we have developed these qualities, everything we say and do will naturally reflect them. We become a source of compassion, peace, and joy for all who come into contact with us. Our mere presence will bring solace to others. Therefore, just as we must not neglect the roots of a tree if we want to enjoy its fruits, so too must we care for our own mind if we wish to benefit others. Even though many of us, at least on a conceptual level, recognize the importance of meditation, we may fail to practice it. The reason is that we know of it but do not feel inspired enough to do it. So how do we develop the motivation to meditate? Basically, there are two types of motivation: inspiration and fear. Life itself provides ample material for both. For instance, meeting an extraordinary teacher can be a tremendous source of inspiration. Or events such as serious illness, the death of a loved one, or a large-scale tragedy like the tsunami disaster in South and Southeast Asia may awaken us, prompting a clearer perspective on life. Buddhism encourages us to deeply contemplate 5 aspects of human life that inspire us while also instilling a sense of concern. 1. Possessing a moral life is exceedingly rare. 2. Life is impermanent and constantly changing. 3. All events in life are results of good or bad karma. 4. Life is full of suffering. 5. Life has the potential to achieve the highest goals. These characteristics are not fabricated, but represent truths about human existence. We may not have realized or cared about them before, but now we should pay attention to them as motivations for practice. In my monastery in Tibet, we begin each meditation session by reflecting on these 5 points. We do not necessarily have to sit in formal meditation to think about them. We can do so anywhere, anytime. These reflections help us realize the true nature of life, guide us onto the path, and inspire us to cultivate and uphold the Dharma. the rarity of human life. Human life is very precious because it forms the foundation upon which we can build our spiritual practice not only for this lifetime, but for all future lifetimes. Human life offers the chance to attain enlightenment, to experience true peace and share those qualities for the benefit of all beings. If we recognize this precious opportunity and understand our life's immense value, we immediately feel deep gratitude for our human existence. That gratitude becomes the resolve not to waste a single moment, dedicating our entire life to benefiting others to the best of our ability. Observe how many beings there are in this world who do not have this extraordinary opportunity, and you will see how truly fortunate we are. Countless beings exist on Earth. Turn over a rock and discover hundreds of insects crawling underneath. Peer through a microscope and you see innumerable creatures in a single drop of water. There are billions of bacteria in our intestines alone. According to Buddhism, each tiny bacterium has consciousness and seeks happiness. Moreover, there are countless beings invisible to our eyes. As in every ancient culture, Buddhism acknowledges the existence of unseen beings, such as angels, spirits, and so on. We believe there are myriad invisible beings among us, right where we sit and breathe. We and they do not perceive or interfere with each other's existence only because our karmic conditions for mutual awareness are not activated. Among the vast and wondrous life forms of both living beings and the inanimate world, humans have the greatest potential for enlightenment, as we have inspiration, reason, and the will to seek a spiritual path. By contrast, animals and beings in hellish realms are too overwhelmed by suffering and lack the reasoning needed to awaken any enlightened qualities. Celestial beings, long-lived gods, may be luckier in that they possess luminous bodies and various pleasures, but they do not go through the mingled experiences of suffering and joy that spur us to seek enlightenment, and thus they remain absorbed in their own delights. Even so, looking at humanity, we see very few who feel inclined or who have the intention to seize the precious chance to practice and realize enlightenment. Many nowadays have no faith in religion or spirituality. Many do not know of the mind's potential, including some highly educated people. Someone once remarked to me, "The mind is just a kind of mushroom growing on the brain." Many people, occupied by making a living or dealing with illness, or who are too engrossed in sensual desires, never make time for spiritual cultivation. Others devote all their energies to acquiring material success and worldly fame. Still, others possess some inclination towards spirituality, yet have not found the right path, failing to meet a genuine teacher or mentor and therefore choosing wrong values. Consequently, only a small portion of humanity has the opportunity to pursue a spiritual path. Buddhist teachings identify 18 ideal conditions for spiritual development, 8 freedoms and 10 advantages. 8 freedoms. 1. Not being born in hell. 2. Not being born as a hungry ghost. 3. Not being born as an animal. 4. Not being born in a long life heaven, where there is no chance to practice. 5. Not holding wrong views. 6. Not living a barbaric existence. 7. Not having beliefs that cut off spiritual understanding. 8. Not being born where no enlightened teacher has appeared. 10 advantages. 1. Being born as a human. 2. Having all 5 senses intact. 3. Leading a righteous life. 4. Living where the Dharma exists. 5. Living where there is an enlightened teacher. 6. Having a teacher who teaches the path to enlightenment. 7. Having the teaching still exist. 8. Having faith in the teachings. 9. Practicing according to the teachings. 10. Having a spiritual guide. It is very rare to possess all 18 ideal conditions. In Buddhist terms, those who do are considered to have a precious human life. Regardless of how many of these conditions we have, we should rejoice in them and make the best use of them, and we should seek to acquire those that are missing. In recognizing this, we will never dare squander this precious opportunity, and sooner or later we will realize that a precious human life brings peace and liberation. If we do not seize this chance to give our life meaning and transform it into a truly precious human existence, we cannot say with certainty we will get another chance in the future. Ultimately, although humans are the sharpest in intelligence among beings, we also experience the strongest emotions, which can easily lead us astray into negative actions, creating causes to be reborn in lower realms. The scholar Shantideva said, "It is indeed difficult to obtain a human life with good conditions. We are now in a position to achieve the noble goal of life, but if we fail to take advantage of it, how will we find such an opportunity again? The impermanence of life. Death is the most effective topic for concentrating the mind. Reflecting on our mortality and on the impermanence of life spurs us to urgently make use of our precious human existence. Once we perceive the meaning of impermanence, we recognize the reality of life's nature, thus committing ourselves to the path of practice. We all know we will die someday, yet we do not know when or how. We naturally assume our life will last a long time, but in truth, we exist only as long as consciousness remains connected to this body. The union of body and mind is fragile, easily undone by diseases, accidents, medicines, food, housing, entertainments, friends. Virtually anything can threaten our lives. Life appears to unfold in a continuous stream, but in fact, it is an ever-shifting series of ups and downs. The phases of living and dying intertwine incessantly, just like day and night following each other. In every instant, change in life happens without pause, like a string of beads constantly shifting from one bead to the next. Everything in life and nature, friendships, wealth, status constantly changes. The Buddha taught, the three realms desire, form, and formlessness, all impermanent, like autumn clouds. Birth and death revolve as swiftly as a dancer's movements. Human life passes like lightning flashing across the sky. Gunthani Tempi Dronme tells a parable of a man leisurely walking in the mountains who suddenly slips down a slope. Midway in his fall, he grabs a clump of grass and clings to it with all his strength to avoid plunging into the abyss. Then a white mouse appears and starts gnawing at the grass. A black mouse arrives too, and they take turns chewing the blades until none remain, and the man falls into the chasm. In this allegory, the white mouse symbolizes daytime and the black mouse symbolizes nighttime. Day and night alternate, bringing us ever closer to the end of a human life. Though we live one life, we constantly move toward death. The Buddha taught, whatever forms are gathered must disperse, whatever rises must also fall. Whoever meets will someday part. Whoever is born must also die. Because life must come to an end, all living beings must die. Most of us know this, at least intellectually. We also know death can come unexpectedly, yet we feel more comfortable burying our heads in the sand, imagining our life to be endless. As a result, we fail to prepare for death and thus may regret it in the final moments when it is too late. Therefore, we must realize the impermanence of life and truly feel its constant flux. This recognition will spur us toward the path of peace, guiding us to security. We will not dare waste any more time, using the impermanence teaching to eliminate afflictions. Realizing impermanence has great benefits. Besides motivating spiritual practice, contemplating impermanence can dissolve our afflictions and help us progress towards supreme enlightenment. Impermanence of anger. Understanding impermanence makes us more tolerant. When we feel anger towards someone who harms us, reflect that our current adversary may have been our child in a past life. Tomorrow, they could become our best friend. Such insight can relieve us of the affliction of hatred. We may also see that it is pointless and hollow to be in conflict with others, as all beings keep changing. Furthermore, we may develop compassion for those we consider enemies, because in time, their harmful intentions will create bad karmic results for themselves. Impermanence of desire. When craving a person or an object, contemplate its impermanence. Beautiful youth invariably fades before our very eyes. The pleasant items that delight us today can become sources of pain tomorrow through loss or change. Possessions and social status can ensnare us as their slaves. Clinging to them is like strangling ourselves. Pursuing worldly appearances amounts to self-deception. By reflecting on the impermanence of the objects that captivate our minds, we recognize their fleeting, unreliable nature and gradually lose interest in them. As our craving wanes, we gain the capacity to bring genuine fulfillment and true joy to ourselves and to whatever we do possess. Not clinging or being attached to any object of thought is itself the greatest source of peace. The Buddha taught all worldly pleasures, even those in heaven, cannot compare to even 1/16 of the bliss found in freedom from desire. Impermanence of sorrow, when our mind plunges into grief because of losing something we cherish, reflecting on impermanence both of the sorrow itself and of its cause can dissolve that sorrow. Such contemplation uproots our attachment to something that never was truly real or reliable. Perhaps we are dejected because we encounter what we dislike. Realizing its impermanent nature can soften the weight of our grief. Impermanence of excitement. Reflecting on impermanence also helps avoid emotional inflation. For example, when discovering we have been blessed with some stroke of luck, instead of reveling in it, we should remember that good fortune is short-lived. A recent study in the United States followed lottery winners over several years, finding that winning millions of dollars did not make them happier. In fact, it often caused even more distress due to family disputes, lawsuits, and reckless spending. Another study found that these sudden millionaires are no happier than traffic accident victims. Ultimately, when we die, we carry only the spiritual attainments we have, gained our habitual tendencies imprinted in consciousness while alive. All other experiences, pleasant or painful, are insignificant in that moment. The sage Shantideva wrote, "One man wakes up after a 100-year dream of happiness, another awakens from a brief pleasant dream. But once awake, both dreams are gone. So too, when death comes, whether life was long or short makes no difference." The profound path to enlightenment. If we are experienced practitioners, reflecting on impermanence can lead us to the deepest realization of universal truth or enlightened nature. The great yogi Milarepa wrote, "Out of fear of death, I fled to the mountains. Meditating on the suddenness of death, I realized the state of the deathless unborn. Now death holds no fear for me." When we truly see that death is inevitable and all objects of our mind are impermanent, our minds clinging to them is uprooted. Our mind grows open instead of grasping, letting go instead of holding, peaceful instead of agitated, harmonious instead of contentious, mindful instead of heedless, and wise instead of deluded. Our entire life transforms from wrongdoing to virtue. Master Putoa said, "Contemplate the suddenness of death. Meditating on the certainty of death, we will more easily abandon any wrongdoing and exert ourselves in virtuous deeds. By recognizing the impermanent nature of phenomena, no goal is too lofty for us. Two aspects of our true nature, compassion and wisdom, will shine forth and illuminate all things. Therefore, we must be grateful for impermanence, for it allows every life suffering to end if we practice diligently, and thus blessings can transform our human life into a precious existence. Life is governed by the law of cause and effect. One of the strongest motivators for spiritual practice is understanding that we ourselves will experience the results of all our bodily, verbal, and mental actions. This is the law of cause and effect. The concept of karma has become widely known in the West, but many still misconstrue it as fate or some form of punishment that one must passively endure. Sometimes, when misfortune occurs, people sigh, "Maybe it's just my karma." This attitude is mistaken. Firstly, karma does not refer exclusively to negative actions. It encompasses all intentional actions, good as well as bad, that lead to either suffering or happiness. Secondly, karma is neither fate nor punishment imposed from without. We ourselves create karma. It is the consequence of intentional actions we perform every moment. The Venerable Walpola Rahula explains, "The law of cause and effect is a theory of causes and results, of actions and reactions. Karma is a natural law different from the notion of justice or of reward and punishment. All volitional actions leave consequences that we ourselves produce. Karmic results are what we have cultivated in the flow of our consciousness through our actions and reactions. Thinking we must merely wait for the past to unfold upon us is another misconception. Creating good karma right now can purify negative karma from our past, reshaping our future. Conversely, fostering bad karma can undermine or negate our past positive karma. We alone create our own good or bad destinies. At death, we carry nothing with us but our karma. Everything we have enjoyed in this life must be left behind. The Buddha taught a king too must face death. Wealth, kin, and friends cannot follow him. Wherever we go, wherever we are, karma follows us like a shadow. Karma alone determines our rebirth, for our next life arises from the karmic tendencies manifesting in our consciousness. The Buddha said, "From wholesome deeds comes happiness, from unwholesome deeds comes suffering." Thus, joy or sorrow all depends on the actions of body, speech, and mind that we ourselves create. Understanding and believing the law of karma, we strive to create only wholesome actions so that we can enjoy happiness in future lives. Since intentional thought precedes speech and bodily action, we must refine our attitudes until they become peaceful. We must end unwholesome thoughts before they grow too strong. Genuine faith in karma will deter any unwholesome deeds, as no one wants to harm themselves with bad consequences. If we continue doing wrong, it is because we still do not genuinely understand or believe in karma. Bettering our own behavior also offers us a chance to improve the world around us, since we share collective karma, common karma, and individual karma, personal karma. Individual karma governs each person's experiences and life. Collective karma is the result we share with those who have some karmic connection with us. The closer our connection, the more we share. This explains why many people share similar living conditions and mindsets. Thus, by generating wholesome karma, we can contribute to improving our collective karma. The more diligently we practice, the more we benefit this collective karmic transformation. Therefore, for our own sake and everyone else's, we should strive to understand thoroughly the law of cause and effect and the workings of karma. The root of karma is self-grasping. Karma, action, is volitional conduct arising from our intentions. Mind thus plays the essential role in creating karma and in producing karmic results. Before attaining the awakened mind, we inevitably create karma. This happens when our mind perceives mental objects as inherently existing. Viewing objects as separate real entities independent of our mind is called seeing them as having inherent self-nature. As discussed, this perspective is called self-grasping, which clings to the sense of me and mine. We first hold on to an inherent sense of our body and mind, calling them I, and then cling to the inherent self-nature of other people and things as that person, this thing, that thing, and so on. When we regard the five aggregates form, feeling, perception, mental formations, and consciousness that compose our mind-body continuumas, I, or self, we call that grasping at self, or self-centeredness. Likewise, holding on to the realness of phenomena such as the body, emotions, sensations, and other appearances is called grasping at phenomena, or dharmas. These two types of clinging self-grasping and dharma grasping are the root of karma formation. All appearances in life arise from karma, generated when our mind interacts with an object, be it an idea, a sense impression, a mental event, or material phenomenon, by treating it as real. If our mind then reacts with a liking or disliking, attachment or aversion, this intensifies our grasping and gives rise to the three poisons: greed, hatred, and delusion. Thus, we create karma through the three gates of body, speech, and mind. This karmic creation is the root cause of all physical, mental, and social problems. Guru Gampopa stated, "All wrongdoing and suffering are rooted in self-clinging." In the Abhidharmakosha by Master Vasubandhu, it says, "Volition is the mental karma. Bodily and verbal karma are molded by mental karma." We cannot avoid creating karma, but we can choose to create wholesome karma that leads to good results or unwholesome karma that leads to suffering. Buddhist texts outline 10 virtuous and 10 unvirtuous deeds relating to body, speech, and mind. 3 unwholesome bodily actions. 1. Killing. 2. Stealing. 3. Sexual misconduct. 4 unwholesome verbal actions. 4. Lying. 5. Sowing discord. 6. Harsh speech. 7. Idle chatter. 3 unwholesome mental actions. 8. Covetousness. 9. Malice. 10. Wrong view. By contrast, the 10 wholesome deeds are the opposites of these 10 unwholesome ones. 3 wholesome bodily actions. 1. Protecting life. 2. Practicing generosity. 3. Maintaining proper conduct. 4 wholesome verbal actions. 4. Speaking truthfully. 5. Speaking words that unite. 6. Speaking kindly. 7. Speaking meaningfully. 3 wholesome mental actions. 8. Non-attachment. 9. Goodwill. 10. Right view. The most crucial factor in determining whether an action of body, speech, or mind is good or bad is the motivation or intention. Master Tsongkhapa said, "Just as a magnet attracts iron, so does intention attract the mind to positive, negative, or neutral thoughts." If our motivation is under the influence of the 3 poisons: attachment, aversion, and ignorance, any action, word, or thought will be unwholesome. Master Nagarjuna wrote, "Any deed carried out under greed, hatred, or ignorance is unwholesome, and that unwholesome deed leads to suffering for oneself, bringing about birth in the lower realms. However, if our motivation comes from compassion, tolerance, and wisdom, all actions and words will be wholesome." Master Nagarjuna also wrote, "Whatever is done free of greed, hatred, and ignorance is virtuous, and that virtuous deed brings happiness, leading to a fortunate rebirth. If our motivation is mixed, then the karma will be mixed. If our intention is neutral, it produces neutral karma, yielding neither good nor bad results, so a future rebirth will be neither high nor low. Sometimes we see a good person suffering or a bad person thriving. Why so? Because their karmic seeds have not yet ripened. Each of us has created countless karmas over innumerable past lifetimes. Every action is recorded in the alaya vijnana, storehouse consciousness, a neutral subconscious foundation that passively stores all life's experiences and supports samsaric existence. All actions recorded in the storehouse consciousness become active forces, destined to bear fruit in our future lives, sometimes sweet, sometimes bitter, sometimes neutral. The Buddha said, "Consciousness is like an ocean. Karma is like the waves." Thus, the success of a bad person right now is the fruit of some good karma they created in the past. The suffering of a good person is the result of some unwholesome karma they committed before. Once those particular karmic results have played out, other good or bad results will come. In general, which karma ripens first? Typically, the strongest and most serious karma comes to fruition first. Next is the karma created just before death. Then comes frequently repeated or habitual karma. Finally, karma ripens in the order it was created, starting with the earliest. So we will experience some karmic results in this life and some in subsequent lives. We have vast, varied karmic seeds. Most remain dormant. When a seed ripens, we experience its result. In the sutras, there is an analogy of a venomous mouse. If a person is bitten in winter by this mouse, the poison remains inert. But when spring arrives with the first clap of thunder, the venom is activated unless it is neutralized. Just so, at the right time and conditions, our karmic seeds bear fruit unless we transform them. The Buddha taught, a karma deed once done never disappears, even after 100 eons. When the right time and conditions converge, its result must be faced by its maker. If we apply ourselves to purifying negative karma, we can transform, reduce, or eliminate it entirely. A powerful positive karma can cancel out much negative karma. With a strong, pure motivation, all our virtuous deeds gain tremendous strength. We should not underestimate the significance of mental karma. The Buddha also taught, even a small good deed leads to vast happiness in future lives. Fulfilling great aspirations, like good seeds producing a bountiful harvest. Conversely, a major unwholesome deed can diminish or eliminate our past merits. Motivation is key. Still, the strength of a karma also depends on whether 4 phases are completed. For example, consider an act of charity. First, we must have something to give, the object of giving. Second, we must have the motivation, by far the most important factor. Third, we must perform the act giving the gift. Fourth, the act is complete when the recipient accepts it. An action containing all four stages is fully complete karma and will definitely bring results to its doer. Cause and effect chains are infinite. One karmic cause can produce multiple results, and one effect can arise from numerous causes and conditions. Experiencing one result also creates new causes and conditions. Each aspect in each moment of life is produced and maintained by an interdependent web of factors, meaning all phenomena interconnect, arising and functioning through mutual dependence. Transcending causes and conditions. Karmic causality is a fundamental reality of life, yet our ultimate goal is to transcend karma. This happens upon achieving complete enlightenment, when we no longer cling to the self. Freed from the causes and conditions of karmic formation, we can help countless beings in infinite ways, having the omniscience to perceive what each one needs and the power to manifest any form or sound for their benefit. To reach beyond karmic causality, we first focus on creating only wholesome karma, yielding good results. The more positive karma we accumulate, the more joy we experience, in turn generating even greater happiness, step by step diminishing our self-clinging. Ultimately, we will taste a glimpse of the luminous nature within us. Once self-clinging is gone, we fully awaken. Walking the path of virtuous action ultimately returns us to the supreme peace inherently present in all beings at all times.